Hello, Colts Nation. What up, family? Welcome back to an episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, I am one of two dudes talking Colts. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Burton. And as always, we are powered by our amazing sponsor, WagerWire. WagerWire is a revolutionary, one-of-a-kind sports betting app that's going to change the game forever because you can bet on games all the way up to the moment the game starts. You can get in and out of your future bets. And the coolest thing that I think is that you can actually get out of your parlays before they bust, go belly up, explode, wreck your weekend, and trash your holiday. Go over, follow them on Twitter at WagerWire. Check out their Twitter spaces. They're by fans, for fans. And at the same time, go over to the website, wagerwire.com. You're going to see where you can drop in your email address. It's going to give you an alert when the app goes live, which is very, very soon. Okay, you guys. Man, oh man, is it not crazy? So we are going into what feels like round 3, which I don't think any of us thought would actually happen, right? Like round 3 of head coaching interviews. So round 1 was about 14 candidates. We did videos on every single one of them, giving you guys kind of a deep dive. Then we get to what we think was going to be the final round, which ended up being 8 candidates, right? They narrowed the list from 14 to 8 who all had in-person interviews, or in Shane Steichen's case, is going to have an in-person interview as of the recording of this on Saturday, right? So you start looking through and you were like, oh, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, they brought back Raheem Morris. That wasn't a shock. Giro Evero, we thought that was pretty cool. Jeff Saturday had one. Then you heard like Wink Martindale. Then you heard Brian Callahan. Then you heard who else? Then you heard the most recent one, Shane Steichen. Then Aaron Glenn, right? Like we start hearing these names and you're kind of like, what is happening, right? Why are we going to round 2? And that's the purpose of this video, right? Like we're gonna kind of air some of this stuff out because there's a couple of different viewpoints you can have on it, right? The first one being, as a fan, WTF, man, what the hell's happening? Like we've had an opening since November. You've known you were going to have an opening. How do you not have a more concise list? And how do you not know where you're going when it comes to who you want to go after, right? And piggybacking with that is you feel as a fan your team looks stupid, right? Like you do. You feel like we don't know a couple of different things. They don't know who they want don't want them, or they truly have no idea, right? Like we're going to rule out the conspiracy theories that are they're just putting on a show for Jeff Saturday. I think we've heard enough at this point from reputable sources, Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, Zach Kiefer. You know, they've all come out and said the same thing. Mike Chappell, I believe, has said it. Bob Kravitz has been on and said it. Kevin Bowen has said it too. Like these are all people that we really trust that have said like the chances are really slim that they're hiring him if the longer this has gone on. And to put on a show would be horrendous. So, I mean, we're going to rule out that theory. But you feel enraged. Like me and Zach have talked, and it's like I feel like they don't know what they're doing. That's how a lot of people feel. I think that's a lot of how you guys feel, that Ballard has no clue what he's doing. I don't think it's that he doesn't know what he's doing, right? I think there are 2 other options to this, right? There is an option that as I think that some people are going to feel he's afraid to just pull the trigger, right? You have interviewed, I think Zach Kiefer said all in all, first and second interviews, there have been 21 interviews. They have ranged in time frame from the first ones of being about 4 to 5 hours to the second ones being anywhere from 12 to I think Raheem Morris's was like 16 hours. So how do you not know that this is who you want? That's the ultimate question. Why? I don't think that we mind that they've casted a very wide net. I think the issue is, why do you need a third one? What are you going to talk about? Locked on Colts, Zach Hitz has said, what are you going to talk about in this third interview? You've probably covered staff. You've probably covered what do you want to do at the quarterback position. You know, most of them, except for Shane Steichen, have been in the building in Indy and interacting with everybody. Steichen is going to be in Philly for his, which that's a whole different question I have. That it came out today that they're sending a contingency to Philly on Saturday to interview him. I have questions on what is a contingency and who's in it. Is Irsay in it? Is Ballard, like, Ballard's going to be there? But it's a contingency on who's going up there. It's very that feels very odd that you would have that interview. But I digress. That's a subject for a different episode, a different day. But going back to what we're talking about is, how do you not know? Like, how are you interviewing these people, and how do you not know after 2 really lengthy interviews? Like, when you know, and that's who you go with. And I think that's how a lot of fans feel right now when you look at this and go, man, we look really stupid, and we look like we have no clue how to spot who we want, right? The other option, which is I think probably a more realistic one, is I think that a lot of people are going to look at it and go, Ballard's being overly cautious, right? This is what me and Zach talked about today when we talked about doing this video tonight, which was, is he afraid to pull the trigger, right? Like, that's a feeling we've always had. He's been very patient a lot of times, and it's paid off sometimes. You've been very patient, and you've gotten some really good picks. You've been patient, and you kind of got different players. But is he being overly cautious because this is the hire? Like, if he doesn't hit this hire, he's not going to get to hire another head coach. He's going to get fired if this coach doesn't work out. I'm sorry. It's true, right? It is 100% true. If the coach doesn't work out that he picks, he's going to get fired. And he knows that, right? So is he being overly cautious? And then it feeds into Ballard's afraid to take the swing. We've heard about it when it comes to the quarterback, right? We've all felt like he's had chances in the past. You could have moved up maybe to get Justin Herbert. You could have had Justin Fields 2 years ago, and you were afraid to take the swing, is what a lot of Colts fans have felt like. And that plays into this too. Are you afraid to just make the hire because you're afraid you're going to get it wrong? And you can't go about it like that. You can't go about your job from a place of fear. You have to lead from the front and make a decision. And I think that's what a lot of people feel too. I felt that way. And then there's the last option, which is he's doing exactly what the hell he told us he was going to do 2 days after the season ended in his presser. He was going to take his time. He was going to cast a very wide net. He was not going to overlook anybody because, and you guys have heard us talk about it, is they feel like they probably were very zeroed in on Josh McDaniels last time, and they missed Mike Vrabel, right? So he was not going to focus in on anybody, and he told us he thought it would last till mid-February. Bros, all the people who watch this show, mid-February is next week, right? Like, next week is like mid-February. It's going to happen in the next 2 weeks at the latest, right? You're either going to hire someone next week before Super Bowl activities really kick off, or you're going to do it after the Super Bowl. Like, that's where you're at. Like, that is 100% where you're at, because somebody brought up, I think it was George Bremer, you're going to be creeping up into combine prep at this point. Combine is the end of February, and you're in February now. So, but he's doing exactly what he said. He has said, I'm going to take my time. We're going to get this right. Now, a lot of us should be happy on the flip side that they have done this, because the more intensive it is, I think the further out it's gotten. And I don't think Irsay is as dead set as people think. You hear a lot of national media. Every once in a while will sprinkle the Saturday out there. But for the most part, that's been debunked at this point, that he's not really going to be a candidate. And I think it would shock everybody if they narrow this down to, say, 2 or 3 candidates who they're going to have for final interviews. If he was in those, I'd be stunned if he was in those. So, like, what do y'all think? Where do you sit on this? Do you think Ballard is clueless? Do you think he's being patient? Are you upset? And is it just the fan in us that's like, man, I just want to know who my damn coach is. Like, I just want to know who I'm rooting for going forward. Like, who's the guy? Are you like me? Do you like Raheem Morris? Are you like Zach? Do you like Brian Callahan? Are you like Cody and Derek, and they're big fans of Shane Steichen. So, I mean, where do you sit? Are you okay with this? One of the other theories out there, too, is that maybe they do know who they want. Maybe it is Steichen, and they're just buying time. Maybe it is a Raheem Morris, and they know they're not going to lose him. And one of the things that I've floated out there is maybe also they are making sure nobody else wows them. Aaron Glenn threw a lot of people off that he was going in today, but maybe they are just double checking. Hey, I really like this guy, but I want to make sure that no one else is going to blow me away, right? The Tomlin effect. Everyone knows that Tomlin was kind of a throwaway interview in Pittsburgh and he blew them away and he got hired. And I think Ballard is trying to make sure of that. But I want to know where you guys sit. What do you guys think about this? Are you frustrated? Are you ready to know who the coach is? Are you worried that the longer they take, coordinators are going to start to get picked over, depending on who you hire? I want to hear from you guys. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all those great things. We haven't said it in a while, but join the family. We're going to get into the meat of this. And by golly, if we can get a coach, we're going to move on. We'll talk a little bit about draft. So, I mean, that'd be exciting. I told Zach, I'm just tired of talking about it a little bit because there's no news. And in the absence of any information, rumors start. So, y'all tell me what you think. Drop it in the comments. As always, you guys, I love you. I know Zach loves you. I'm out. Go Colts.